A From Dublin to Cleveland production.
Hello and welcome to From Dublin to Cleveland. I am Logan Howard. I am not joined by Brendan Thomas Mayer today. He is off on assignment, serving the Lord. Says that he is working on a new ministry opportunity. So hopefully that will go well. Be praying for God's work, not only in his life as well. So today, you're stuck with me. And today I will be going through a little bit of an update about where I'm at, why I haven't been on screen for a little while, because life is busy teaching. You kind of go home and just mentally decompress because of all the intricacies of teaching kids. And it's not just teaching them, you also are yelling at them sometimes because they're not listening. So it's been a stressful time with that, but not as stressful in a bad way, but in a good way. So I have gotten a new car. I have, which is a Ford Mustang, which is super awesome, nice ride. Had some issues with the wheels and stuff when I bought it, so I had to take care of that, and also had some, of course, got new glasses. If you noticed, they are very professor-ish. So yeah, it's been really busy, crazy time, and I'd love to say that I'm always in the best mental place, but that's probably not true. Some of the stuff that went down at this summer and moving to a new place, and so there's been a lot of stress, and maybe not stress isn't a good word, just finding myself again, finding my joy and my happiness again has been a slow process. So yeah, it's been a good time. It's been a good healing time, but it hasn't been quick. So let's get into what we're going to talk about today. So that's my update, my quick update. It's not about me. The Lord's doing awesome work, and I've been working on. I'm going to be preaching again here in a couple of weeks at Abram Creek Baptist Church. So if any of you are in the Ohio area or on the way through Ohio, you're always welcome to stop in at Abram Creek Baptist Church on the 17th of November. I will be preaching. I'll be preaching on the rich young ruler, so it'll be very interesting to see how that goes. But our message today, or not a message, man, I have not done this in a while, so you're getting the frayed ends of a person who has sat here for a little while. And who has just spent a whole day teaching. So talking is like gone at this point of the day. But I'm going to be going through a political compass. We are in a political season that is, I don't want to hype it up to say that this is like the biggest political sphere, whatever, ever. It's not, but it's a big deal. And so I want to talk about it, and maybe not talk about what's going on, who to vote for, any of that jazz, but give you an idea of where I stand politically. So there's I'll leave a link in the description so you can take this as well. But it's a political compass quiz. And so I'm going to read the questions. There's going to be options with strongly agree, disagree, or strongly disagree. And I may give this to Brendan next time I see him. Or he might do it himself. He might record one of these for that. So here is my political compass. All right. So first question. If economic globalization is inevitable, which if you don't know what economic globalization is, it just means that the economies of all the world are just going to come together into one. If that's inevitable, it should primarily serve humanity rather than the interests of transnational corporations. Okay, so lots of big words that we need to figure out here. Transnational corporations are corporations that, I guess, are multinational, multicultural. I don't know if there's really great examples of them, but corporations that just work across nations. Maybe like car manufacturers that make things in different countries. I'm not exactly sure, but it should serve, if we have this globalization of the economy, it should serve humanity rather than transnational corporations. I agree with that. It should serve the people. It shouldn't serve corporations. Corporations are fine. I'm not anti-corporation guy, but they're not the people who should most benefit from globalization of things. It should be the humans. The next statement: I would always support my country, whether it's right or wrong. Unfortunately, I am a Christian. I am also an American. But if America is not doing well or not living correctly, I am gonna call it out because I'm a Christian. I am a follower of Jesus Christ. My identity is with Christ before I'm an American. So it's not a strongly disagree, but it's a disagree in terms of supporting my country, whether it's right or wrong. If they're wrong, I'm gonna struggle to support. Fortunately, that's true. Next one. No one chooses their country of birth, so it's foolish to be proud of it. That is absolutely a disagree. Stupid logic, bad reasoning for why you shouldn't be proud of your country. You can be proud of your country if it's good, and if you're from there, you should be proud of it. But to say that because you don't choose it, you shouldn't be proud of it, poor logic. Next question. Our race has many superior qualities compared with other races. Nope, strongly disagree. We're all one race. Sorry, contrary to popular opinion, we're all the same. We're all humans. We're all the human race. Unfortunately, or last I checked, I didn't see any different races like an alien race or any of those kind of things. So we're all one race. We're all the same. We're not better than anyone else. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. I think there are times that this is true. So I'm going to say agree. But it's not a great place to live, that your enemy of your enemy is your friend. But sometimes that happens. Sometimes there's some camaraderie that can happen when you both have guys who you're going after. Okay, next question. Military action that defies international law is sometimes justified. So if you step in and try to fix something, even though there's a law against you invading someone, it's justified. I think there are times when, and it revolves around people, or people are being mistreated and there's a law against invading or whatever. You need to do what's right. So I agree. The next one, it says, there is now a worrying fusion of information and entertainment. Strongly agree. There is a really bad situation in our world where we mix our entertainment and our information or news. We are trying to force messages through our entertainment, and that doesn't need to happen. All right, next one, page 2 of 6. Now the economy. So this is my economy beliefs. We're talking attitudes, not whatever those index are. So here is question 1. People are ultimately divided more by class than by nationality. So class than nationality. This is a tough one because I think it's right in the middle. I think we divide ourselves over so much stuff these days. Class, so people who are rich don't associate with people who are poor. I think there's some truth to that. I think that there are more people of different nationalities that hang out with each other than there are really rich people who hang out with poor people. Unfortunately, that's the case. It's been that way for most of history. Next question. Controlling information is more important than controlling unemployment. I think that's true. You can control whether people are going to have jobs or not, but you can't control whether they're able to afford their cost of living. So for me, I lean more towards inflation is a bigger problem. I'm not saying unemployment is not a big problem, because it can be, but I think they're kind of connected a little bit. And if you're able to keep cost of living down, it makes unemployment less hurtful, to say the least. All right. Because corporations cannot be trusted to voluntarily protect the environment, they require regulation. Ugh, look, I am not a regulation guy. The amount of things that we in America or we around the world try to regulate and say, oh, we should be in charge of this. Whoopee, I don't really care. So I disagree with that. Next question. From each according to his ability to each according to his need is a fundamentally good idea. So this means that we should receive stuff for each according to his ability, and we should give to each according to his need. I don't know. I'm kind of whatever on this statement. I think I'm just going to tend to disagree, because I think we should serve people no matter what the need is, and go above and beyond needs, and go above and beyond what you can. So I'm going to disagree to it, but that's just me. The freer the market, the freer the people. Oh, I strongly agree with that. If you have a free market, your people are free. They might not be better off always, but freer. They're free to make more decisions and better decisions. It is a sad reflection on our society that something as basic as drinking water is now a bottled, branded product. Look, I don't care, man. I disagree about this statement. There are so much worse reflections of our society than whether we're doing bottled water. I'm sorry. Just saying. The bottled water, I can't tell you if it's 100% better quality or not, but come on. It's not the worst thing in our world. Land shouldn't be a commodity bought and sold. I disagree with that. We should be able to buy land. It's America. We should be free. Free to buy land. Next question. It is regrettable that many personal fortunes are made by people who simply manipulate money and contribute nothing to society. Look, I disagree with this, man. If you're smart enough to make money, go do you. I don't really care whether you contribute to society or not. I don't care that you, do your own thing, man. Just live your life. Don't care. So I disagree with that statement. Protectionism is sometimes necessary in trade. This one's a tough one, because there are some people who make really dumb trades. There's some idiot. Well, idiots is not a nice word, but there are some people who will make dumb trades. I disagree with this, though. I want to let them make dumb trades. You don't learn if you make good. If you don't sometimes fail. So let them fail. Let them fail. Don't need to protect them. Again, that's over-regulation. I'm not about regulation. The only social responsibility of a company should be to deliver a profit to its shareholders. I disagree with this, because I think they need to take care of their company and take care of their people. I think that's the right thing to do. You should take care of your people. You should take care of the people who work for you. Should you make money for your shareholders? Yes, that's a good idea. Then you'll get support, but yeah. The next one says the rich are too highly taxed. Look, I don't even know about this. Part of me, I'm just going to say disagree. Not because I think they need to be taxed more, but because I think they kind of just circumnavigate the taxes at this point. So are they even paying taxes? I don't know. I'm just going to circumnavigate and just say disagree. I might sound like I'm a liberal with that statement, and there might be some other questions that make me sound like a liberal, but it's a compass. Compasses are, you fit in certain quadrants. So if you want to take the test, you take the test and you tell me what you get. Those with the ability to pay should have access to higher standards of medical care. Yep, I agree with that. If you can pay, you should be able to have whatever you can pay for. Do I think that we should have huge tier systems and things should be extremely expensive to pay out of pocket for healthcare? Absolutely not. That's stupid. Absolutely stupid. It's just stupid. Government should penalize businesses that mislead the public. Look, I'm going to say something really controversial with this one. If you are dumb enough to be misled by businesses, I just disagree. Okay, look, I don't need government regulation on everything, and the misleading is so fickle. So penalizing them, I don't think penalizing is the answer. Penalizing doesn't do nothing for them. That's like a slap on the wrist. So yeah, I don't think penalizing is going to do anything. You gotta go for the jugular there. Last question here for this page anyway. A genuinely free market requires restrictions on the ability of predator multinationals to create monopolies. Yeah, I disagree, right? I strongly disagree. I think we should have a free society, and if they make monopolies, they have done a good job to make a monopoly. Just saying. All right. Abortion, when a woman's life is not threatened, should always be illegal. I agree. I do think it should be illegal. I agree because it's killing human lives. There's a part of me that wants to say if they want to do their own thing, they should do their own thing. But if you're asking me and I'm in charge, it should be illegal because it's killing human lives. It's murdering kids. It is. I don't mean to mince words, but it is. All authority should be questioned. I strongly disagree. We should not be questioning God. God is our authority. We shouldn't always go around questioning everything he does. And I feel like the heart behind this question is not, can we ask them questions? Can we say things? This is being curious, being concerned about every single authority, and that's not wise. Not wise at all. An eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. Look, I follow Jesus. I strongly disagree with that. That's not a way to live. That just creates a bunch of hurt people. We already hurt people enough. We need to stop hurting people. Taxpayers should not be expected to prop any theaters or museums that cannot survive on a commercial basis. Look, I agree with that. We waste so much money on taxpayer dollars. I don't need to waste it on a theater or a museum. Look, I think museums are great. I think theaters are great. Our taxpayer money shouldn't be paying for them. If they can't bring in the people, then only work half a year or something. I don't know. Schools should not make classroom attendance compulsory. I disagree. I don't know, man. I think school is good for kids. I think there should be religion in the schools, but I think kids need it to a degree. I also think as they get older, though, there's some kids who aren't going to do well in school. So it's a tough one. That's a tough one. That's one, if there was a middle question, I'd pick the middle, because, yeah. All people have their rights, but it's better for all of us that different sorts of people should keep their own kind. That's garbage. As Christians, if we only kept with Christians, the gospel would never get out. So that's absolute trash. Burn that with fire. Good parents sometimes have to spank their children. Yep, it's biblical. Sorry, not sorry. It's natural for children to keep some secrets from their parents. Okay, so I disagree with this statement. Not because it's not natural for kids to sometimes try to hide things from their parents. I disagree with it because they make it sound like it's right. It's a good thing. It's natural. It's like, it doesn't matter. It does matter. Kids should be able to trust their parents. So if you're listening, you're a kid, you should be able to trust your parents. And if not, there's some problems there that you need to work on or try to work on. And sometimes your parents are bad. That happens too. But find somebody who you can trust and tell people things, because bottling it up, I'm living proof that's a terrible idea. I literally live most of my life bottling stuff up or keeping stuff in, and it just makes you miserable. So don't do that. Possessing marijuana for personal use should not be a criminal offense. I disagree. I don't think we need it. It's going to ruin our society. That stuff should not be used for personal use. Just saying. The prime function of schooling should be to equip the future generations to find jobs. I'm just going to agree on this one. I don't think it's the prime only function. I think the most function that schooling should be used is to show kids that there's a creator and a God. And why he created such an awesome world. But I do think we need to raise kids to get jobs. People with serious inheritable disabilities should not be allowed to reproduce. Burn that with fire. They should be able to do whatever they want. We shouldn't be making a decision of whether they can have kids or not have kids. That's not my decision to make. Most important thing for children to learn is to accept discipline. I'm going to agree. Not strongly agree. The reason I'm not strongly agree is because discipline can sometimes be a trigger word for some people. And discipline is important, and we need discipline. We need way more of it in America. But I also think they need to know discipline so that they can know grace and mercy as well. You don't get mercy and grace if you don't have some sort of discipline. There's no savage and uncivilized people. There are only different cultures. I agree with that. Hey, those people in Africa who we think are savages or whatever, they're not. They're intelligent human beings. Period. End of story. Those who are able to work and refuse the opportunity should not expect society's support. Yep. If you're not going to work, you should not get support. Sorry. Not sorry. When you are troubled, it's better not to think about it, but to keep busy with more cheerful things. So I'm gonna say disagree. I think this is sometimes a good policy to have, just distract, but we do so much distracting already. We need to actually just emotionally recover from the stuff we go through. That's a reason why it's taken so long for me to get over some of the stuff that's happened to me. It's because I don't allow myself to actually feel the emotions of it, to feel sad, to feel the mourning of it, to decompress and just feel it wash over me. I don't let myself do that. And it's not natural anymore. It's so natural to just distract and do things, and got to feel that hurt. First generational immigrants can never be fully integrated within their new country. I disagree. I think they can. I think they could come to America, and they should be able to come to America as immigrants and be able to be embraced and felt loved as an American. what's good for the most successful corporations is always ultimately good for us. I disagree. Sometimes corporations are out to make money. That doesn't necessarily mean it's good for us. Just saying. No broadcasting institution, however independent, should receive public funding. Okay, I grew up watching PBS, but I do strongly agree with this. Why are we spending our money on public broadcasting? Why? Wasting our time. All right, we've got pages 4 of 6, so I'm going to try and... Some of these questions are getting less. There's less questions, because now we're seeing the wider society and there's less questions. So, our civil liberties are being excessively curbed in the name of counterterrorism. I think this is more of back in the early 2000s, but I do still kind of agree with this. We can't just freely move as much as we used to be able to without thinking. A significant advantage of one-party state is it avoids all the arguments and delays. That's garbage. Yeah, no. In a one-party state, there's still arguments and disagreements. That's still going to happen, and you're still not going to get things done. So even when we have all of one of the parties in office, things still sometimes just don't get done. So, although the electronic age makes official surveillance easier, only wrongdoers need to be worried. I disagree. Surveillance is a dangerous thing, and people can use that against us. So we'll see if this gets taken down because of my surveillance, but who knows. The death penalty should be an option. Oh yeah, strongly agree. For serious crimes. Serious crimes, that's the rest of the question. In a civilized society, one must always have people above to be obeyed and people below to be commanded. I tentatively agree. I think we're all equal, but there are some people who can take charge, and we need that. We need people who will fall on the sword for us. Abstract art that doesn't represent anything shouldn't be considered art at all. Controversial opinion, I agree. They should not be considered art. Sorry, not sorry. Criminal justice punishment should be more important than rehabilitation. I strongly disagree. We should try to rehabilitate. Punishment is important, but not more important. It should be about the same. It's a waste of time to try to rehabilitate criminals. Strongly disagree. I don't think it's a waste of time. Because I've known a lot of people who can work through being a criminal, and God gets a hold of them. So it happens. Business person and the manufacturer are more important than the writer and artist. Disagree. We're all equal. Mothers may have careers, but their first duty is to be a homemaker. I'm going to say disagree, not for the reasons you might think. I disagree because I think their job is to be a mom first and a wife first. Homemaker, anybody can do that. Do that part of it anyway. They do it really well. They're very exceptionally skilled at it. Women are. But I think their first job is to be a mom, not to be a homemaker. Almost all politicians promise economic growth, but we should heed the warnings of climate science that growth is detrimental to our efforts to curb global warming. Yeah, burn that with fire. I don't care. I mean, I think we need to be kind to our environment in some aspects, but I think people go too far. Making peace with the establishment is an important aspect of maturity. I disagree. It's not an important aspect. Astrology explains many things. Burn that with fire. Strongly disagree. You cannot be moral without being religious. I disagree. God has set in everyone's heart, set eternity in everyone's heart. He has, in Romans 1, it talks about how God has put everyone knows right and wrong, and they're able to tell right and wrong. And so, no, I disagree. Charity is better than Social Security as a means of helping the genuinely disadvantaged. I'm going to say I disagree a little bit here. I think if we were more generously for a person and we took care of people better and we showed charity to a specific person, I think this would be true. I think Social Security does do a lot of help, though. So, some people are naturally unlucky. At one point in my life, I would agree with this, but no. God is the one who decides our fates. It's not about luck. It's important that my child's school instills religious values. Strongly agree. And not just any religious values, like Christianity. All right, we're on to the last page. So look at sex. Oh boy, the S word. We have no longer become a homeschooling podcast. We have now gone into the dark era. But sex outside of marriage is usually immoral. Yeah, it is. Same-sex couple in a stable, loving relationship should not be excluded from the possibility of child adoption. I disagree. I think they should be excluded because we are about growing. We should be about growing the family, and the family has a mom and a dad. And putting kids in situations where they don't have both of those is not a good situation. Sorry, not sorry. Pornography depicting consenting adults should be legal. That is, nope. Nobody needs that. I don't need it. I don't need to see it. I've had my struggles with it in my life, and I don't need it. It should not be legal. I should not have an ability to see it. What goes on in private bedrooms between consenting adults is no business of the state. I agree. It is no business of the state. Fair, not fair. Some might say, but Logan, that could mean they're doing this or that. It's really not the government's place. Sorry, not sorry. No one can feel naturally homosexual. I agree. I strongly agree. We might think that, or we might feel like we have homosexual grad, but it's not natural. That's not a natural thing. These days, openness about sex has gone too far. Oh boy. Yep, strongly agree. Case in point, this podcast where I'm saying this and I'm like, yikes, maybe I shouldn't say it. So, you get to see now where I stand. So, for those of you who have not seen Political Compass, I will be posting the photo of this episode. Will have where I stand political compass wise. But it's on a scale of social scale and then economic scale. And so people in the quadrant up here is like China, North Korea. Over here is Saudi Arabia, Singapore, Uruguay, Switzerland. Basically, you're either authoritarian at the top, libertarian at the bottom, left and right down here, economics-wise. So, for me, I'm not very authoritarian at all. In fact, I lean just a tiny bit libertarian, and I'm only a tiny bit right, which is interesting. I felt like I'd be very right. So, interesting stuff. So I'll be posting my economic my compass, so you guys can see it, and it'll be the background or the logo of our podcast episode today. So we've got through it. You survived having to listen to me talk about politics. Now you got to listen to me talk about the Bible. So we're going to go to Romans 1, because we've just talked about this a little bit. I'm just going to read Romans 1, point out a couple things, and then we'll get on with our day or evening whenever you're listening to this. Romans 1 says this: Paul, a bondservant of Jesus Christ, called to be an apostle, separated to the gospel of God, which he promised before through his prophets in the Holy Scriptures, concerning his Son, Jesus Christ our Lord, who was born of the seed of David according to the flesh, and declared to be the Son of God, with power according to the Spirit of holiness, by the resurrection of the dead. Through him we have received grace and apostleship for obedience to the faith among all nations for his name, among whom you also are called of Jesus Christ. To all who are in Rome, beloved of God, called to be saints, grace to you and peace from God our Father and the Lord Jesus Christ. So, Paul's explaining who he is, where he's from, how we're all bound and bonded through Jesus Christ our Lord, and our grace and our apostleship and our obedience should all be based in Jesus. Very good start to this book. First, I thank my God through Jesus Christ for you all, that your faith is spoken throughout the world. For God is my witness, whom I serve with my spirit in the gospel of his Son, that without ceasing I make mentions of you always in my prayers, making request that by some means now at last I may find in the will of God to come to you. For I long to see you, that I may impart to you some spiritual gifts, so that you may be established. That is, that I may be encouraged together with you by the mutual faith both of you and me. Now I do not want to be unaware, brethren, that I often planned to come to you, but was hindered until now, that I might have some fruits among you, just as among other Gentiles. I am a debtor, both to the Greeks and to the barbarians, both to wise and unwise. So as much as in me, I am ready to preach the gospel to you who are in Rome. Rome, just his desire to go. Paul gives his desire to go to Rome, to preach the gospel, to see them, to encourage them, to impart gifts to them, to teach them some things, encourage them, uplift them, because he cares for them. He loves them. He's never been there, but he wants to go. Verse 16. For I am not ashamed of the gospel of Christ, for it is the power of God to salvation for everyone who believes, for the Jew first, also for the Greek. For in it the righteousness of God is revealed from faith to faith, as is written, the just shall live by faith. Another good little section. In fact, this is probably the crux, or one of the theme verses of Romans, is not being ashamed of the gospel. Because it's the power of God to salvation, and it's for everybody. It's not just for the elite. It's not just for the poor. It's not just for the weak. It's not just for the strong. It's for everybody. Cool, awesome verses here in Romans 18 through the end of the chapter. For the wrath of God is revealed from heaven against men, against all ungodliness and unrighteousness of men who suppress the truth in unrighteousness, because what may be known of God is manifest in them, for God has shown it to them. For since the creation of the world, his invisible attributes are clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made, even his eternal power and Godhead, so that they are without excuse. Because although they knew God, they did not glorify him as God, nor were they thankful, but became futile in their thoughts, and their foolish hearts were darkened. Professing to be wise, they became fools, and changed the glory of the incorruptible God into an image made like corruptible man, and birds and four-footed animals and creeping things. Therefore, God gave them up to uncleanliness in the lust of their hearts, to dishonor their bodies among themselves, who exchanged the truth of God for the lie, and worshipped and served the creature rather than the Creator, who is blessed forever. Amen. For this reason, God gave them up to vile passions. Even their women exchanged the natural use for what is against nature. Likewise also the men, leaving the natural use of the woman, burned with their lust for one another, men with men committing what is shameful, and receiving in themselves the penalty of their error which was due. And even though they did not like to retain God in their knowledge, God gave them over to debased mind, to do things which are not fitting, being filled with all unrighteousness, sexually immoral, wickedness, covetousness, maliciousness, full of envy, murder, strife, deceit, evil-minded. They are whisperers, backbiters, haters of God, violent, proud, boasters, inventors of evil, disobedient to parents, undiscerning, untrustworthy, unloving, unforgiving, unmerciful, who, knowing the righteous judgments of God, that those who practice such things are deserving of death, not only do they do the same, but approve those who practice them. Whoa. I think that's the big defining term of this passage is whoa. Excuse me. It talks about God has made manifest. He's made known to them. He's shown people who he is. You can see it in math. I work with math every day. And you can see the consistency and the repetition of math. Only a creator could make that. Only a God could do that, where it keeps repeating over and over again. So the individual attributes are clearly seen, being understood. They're just seen everywhere. You see his creation. Every morning I drive to work, and the sun comes up, and I see the sunrise, and it is glorious. Every day. Just a little piece of glory every day. Because they knew, and so they know who God is. They see him, and they know God, but they didn't glorify him as God. Nor were they thankful, but were futile in their thoughts and foolish in their hearts, and they were darkened. Professing to be wise, they became fools. I changed the glory of the incorruptible to the image of corruptible. And God gave them over to all these sins, and they became unrighteous, immoral, wicked, covetous, undiscerning, untrustworthy, unloving, unforgiving, unmerciful. They knew everything and what to do, and all the right things to do. But they rejected it. So every one of us has to make that decision. If you're a follower of Jesus Christ, you have to make that decision. If you're not a follower of Jesus Christ, you have to make that decision of, are you going to glorify God? Are you going to live for him? Or are you going to live like everybody else? I'm not saying you can lose your salvation. If you start living like that, I'm going to question whether you're ever saved at all. That's what I'm going to question. Because when we're saved, it changes us. Does that mean we don't struggle? Does it mean we don't have frustration? Does it mean we're not angry or we don't want things? No. It just means that when we're saved, things change. So we might have some of those rough patches, but that's not our defining. That doesn't define us. So, that's been Romans 1. That has been my political standing in the world. So if you hate it and you disagree with me, you can send me an email from donaldtrump at gmail.com. Haven't gotten one of those in a while. Love to hear you argue with me. Brendan will probably be doing one of these as well, so maybe we are politically aligned. Maybe he is way more authoritarian or way more whatever than me. We'll figure it out. So the podcast, like I said, the podcast picture or whatever, the post of it will have where my dot is on the little board. It'll have other people's faces. It'll be a political episode. So look forward to that. It might be a while before we get to our next podcast episode. We'll see how it goes. It might be a Brendan or me solo episode because I know my schedule's getting busier and busier as we get closer and closer to holidays. But you will hear from us in due time. So don't think we're dead. We are just serving the Lord in our little areas and focused on doing that. So maintain the hope. Keep focusing on the Lord. I'd love to hear from you guys, and we'll see you all next time. Bye, friends.